You think I should do? Or like,
just be matchy.
or like, matchy.
Yeah.
I think this has happened before.
Yeah,
where
we were
we
wearing those like sweaters, but on the video, it didn't look as similar.
Yeah,
as it
you're
did in
right. It didn't
person.
look quite as similar.
Yeah,
But yeah, I feel
noticed.
like there's
I was like, oh, it looks less matchy than it did in person.
There's multiple times where we like get together and I'm like, hey, we're like same brain. We have the same,
just channeling.
same brain. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel today. My name is Carly.
I'm Kim.
I'm crying. Oh my gosh.
Never happened to me before.
Okay, we're gonna try. Like, you can see like the buffering. It was like buffering. Like real-time buffering happening in Kim's brain. Oh, that was so good.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, try that again. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel today. My name is Carly.
And I'm Kim.
There it is.
Though it wasn't clear, I know who I am.
And today we are kind of coming at you with, we're going to be actually sharing our first thoughts on the brand new title Floe from Pika Games. So if you're unfamiliar with this game, Floe is actually it's running a Kickstarter campaign at the time of posting this video. But a couple weeks back, Pika Games actually reached out to me wondering if I'd be interested in kind of receiving a prototype copy of the game just to kind of share my thoughts on what I thought of this. Obviously, I was immediately like, yes, please, because I think I've been very vocal about how excited I am for this game. Obviously, I love Andrew Bosley, but also Henry Audubon, who is the designer of Parks. He's kind of behind Parks, which is one of my favorite games of all time. I love
like
Parks
a lot too.
Love it.
Really
so to kind of like see this mashup of like, you know, obviously Andrew Bosley, who I adore, and then Henry Audubon, I was like, okay, I'm so interested in this game. I really want to try it. And this game it was supposed to be released, I believe, last year or the year before that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it actually, it like kind of got postponed because they were still working on it and still trying to come, you know, kind of like put it together in a way that that they really wanted to. So I've been anticipating this game for a while, and so when Pika Games reached out, I was like, yes, please, like sign me up. I would 100%. Yes, I would love to get a prototype copy of the game. If you are watching this video, I do have like an unboxing video where I kind of go over all of the kind of components of this game, kind of showing off the artwork. In this video, we're just going to be kind of chatting about this game. We played this game, our full game last night, and so we kind of want to share our thoughts and what we kind of thought about this game. So Kim, I'm gonna kind of let you start. What did you think? First thoughts, first impressions of Floe. Oh, and before we kind of get into this, I do want to just make it very clear that this is very much a prototype copy of the game. Stuff is still kind of in the works, still in production. So when we are sharing our thoughts, just kind of take that with a grain of salt that some of this stuff could change from now until you actually receiving your copy of this game. So with all that out of the way, Kim, let's take it away.
So very first impression is it's beautiful. And this is
gorgeous.
And it's not even like the final copy. So
Yes.
I'm like, I can't even wait to see what it looks like when it's finished. I just love the colors. Can't go wrong with pretty pinks, blues, and purples. Purple's my favorite color. Really aesthetically pleasing.
I really like these miniatures because it's like Andrew Bosley's artwork, like when it come to life. You know what I mean? Like in a miniature. And so I think they did a really great job with the miniatures. I think they're just really cute. I really enjoy them. So in this game, you have two different actions. You can either take a village action, which means going to a house and basically doing what it is, or doing what it provides, or going into the wilderness and exploring. So I like how the game had kind of it almost felt like two different games, kind of, that like meshed well together. I don't want to say two different games. I guess that's wrong. Just because two different separate things that are going on, because you have the village where you're able to kind of upgrade like your board a lot. And then you have the explore action where you're going out and like collecting like the ingredients and stuff that you need. And then it's also when you're out exploring, then you can like dive into the dungeon. So it felt kind of interesting. I really liked how there were like separate actions, and like when you came back to the village, you know, you went back out to explore, you kind of start again in the middle of the board. So you kind of have to like ramp up to it, because you don't like if you're all the way out here, and you really want something, you got to try to figure out a way to get that, because you know if you do end up having to go back to the village, you're going to start again in the middle.
Yep.
So it's kind of like, it does feel like you are slowly going out and exploring. You don't constantly kind of get to go where you want, because every time you take a movement out there, you're constantly losing that warmth.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of coming back to the warmth, I love the aspect of warmth. I love how every time you move, you're losing warmth, like just thematically, because this is like a frozen tundra. And I love how you're able to like unlock more health spots, more warmth spots, as the game goes on.
As I was thinking about it, I really like the aspect of like being in the village and then going out and exploring the icebergs, and then having the ability to like enter caves and visit the cave system too, and to like fight the monsters. If I'm feeling like particularly adventurous, I'm like, I'm gonna go fight dragons. And whatnot.
It feels like you're doing that. Like it feels like a progression.
To be honest, it took us a while to learn the game. But that being said, Carly was saying that the actual, so we played it like on the, I guess the hard mode, right?
Yeah. The rule book as it is right now, for everyone that's on the Kickstarter page, if you pull up their rule book, or pull up the rule book, you'll be scrolling through 70 pages worth of rule books. And when I first saw that number, I was overwhelmed. I was like, a 70-page rule book for this game? Are you kidding me? But then when you go through, you realize that it's very prototypey. Like there's some pages that's literally like just a picture. So it's very spread out. So I think the actual rule book will be condensed. And like Kim was mentioning, based on what they've said, is what they're going to be doing with this game is like the very first time you play, you're going to play with like these mechanics in it. And then the second game, you'll unlock something else. So you'll slowly, gradually kind of come into this game instead of what we did, which is just a full-blown, very first play, everything in the game. And I think looking at this cover, I really enjoyed the game too, but I think looking at this cover, I worry that people are going to look at this and be like, oh, it's kind of like a lighter family game, because that's kind of what this cover evokes. You don't look at that thinking, oh, there's kind of a lot going on in that game. You wouldn't think of that looking in. But when you do play this game, it doesn't feel so overwhelming to the point that I'm like, this is a heavy game, but there is a lot going on. And you definitely, it's one of those games where you're like, okay, I have to do this so I can unlock this, so then I can do this. You really have to plan like multiple steps ahead in this game.
There's lots of different things to choose from. There's a lot of different cards that are involved in the game, like different decks that are used for different things.
Different cards. In my opinion, I feel like there was like a couple too many decks. Like I think that I like their envision, because, and I wish I could find the actual quote, because I remember reading it somewhere, but I remember reading or them talking about this game and how they wanted it to feel like almost like a video, like adventure game. So I do get that from this game, but I also at the same time feel like, okay, I feel like they could streamline a couple things a little bit more, because there's just one too many decks, there's one too many tokens, there's one too many, you know what, that's kind of the vibe that I got, at least for me when I was playing. Like these adventure decks, iceberg encounters, the sea encounters, and then the cave encounters. But we kind of already talked about this last night. These encounters, they kind of fell a little bit flat for me. Because when you hear the word encounter, you think like something's gonna change, or something's gonna affect.
Something's gonna happen with the weather, or like
something. But really, it's just you flip these over and you get an instant, and then you get some sort of ability that you can use later on. So it's like they don't feel like encounters to me.
No, they don't.
Yeah, and so it's like I understand why they have 3 different decks for thematic reasons, but then thematically, I feel like there's a disconnect.
I liked all the things that the other cards did, and they were exciting and thematic. Well, one of the cards that I had was, when I got a chest, and the little words were, so I got a chest, and I went and I ate ramen at the ramen place. That's all. I don't know what it's called. I'm just calling it the ramen place. So you go to the ramen place and you eat ramen, and all the characters are sitting, and they have a they're right here.
They have like little text boxes.
Yeah, and they're all like sitting at a table and eating ramen. And he's like, take the chest if you want it. I can't seem to find the key. Like, I don't know. To me, that's just like really,
it feels like a video game.
Yeah,
you know
like,
what I mean? Like,
he's like, here you go, and
I can't find the key. So like, if you find the key, then maybe you can open it.
So there's definitely like an adventure-esque element to the game, and like exploring and having little I mean, personal encounters with these little characters that you go and meet in the village.
So this game does deal with half points. There are, you can like times where you can score half points. How did you feel about that?
I have mixed feelings about it. The way to keep track of it, and maybe it's just our brains, I don't know. But like, I mean, maybe Carly showed this in the unboxing, I don't know. You have to go like up and down and up and down. And at some point I realized, I was like, wait, was it this or was it this?
You kind of keep forgetting.
Yeah, you keep forgetting like where you're at. Like,
Yeah.
shit, like, am I only at a half point right now, or did I just earn a full point?
Yes. You would gain a lot. I feel like you definitely gained half points way more often than you gained full points.
Yes.
And so you're flipping that thing pretty often. And I was the same. I kind of kept forgetting. I was like, wait, did I just score a 4 point there? Or was it a half point? So when I was learning the game, something that's kind of interesting is you have on your personal player, on the double layer player board, you have like your resources in the middle. And you have these flow stones that are basically like halting the progression of the resources that you collect. So you need to like increase your flow stone so then you can collect more resources basically. And if you unlock your flow stone completely, then you can place it on a shrine and then get a point. So because those flow stones are constantly rising up, the way that you gain resources throughout the game is kind of interesting, because in this village, when you are spending resources, you can't just like spend one mushroom at this place. You actually have to spend everything, like the maximum that you were able to get at that time of mushrooms in order to then unlock that ability. So when I was learning about that mechanism, I was really worried that it would feel really punishing, because I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you collect all these mushrooms just to spend all of them every single time you took this action? But I'm actually surprised that I'm saying this. I actually liked it.
I liked it too.
I really liked it. It makes these places like harder to get to, so you have to like really manage your resources efficiently, and you have to really zero in on what you really want to spend, what you really want to collect. I was really surprised that I actually really liked that.
I feel like it like is a really good like balancing.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's the word that I'm looking for, is like it's a balancing, because as the game goes on, you do get stronger. You do get more resources. As more tiles flip over, you are able to get more and more resources as the game goes on. So it is a way to balance this village area here. I do think that some of the iconography could be cleared up a little bit more. I do find it weird that like ramen, like there's ramen and heat, and I feel like they both kind of acted a little bit like the same way. Like the ramen, like I feel like those could have just been combined to heat. Again, I love the thematics of like the ramen. I love that. I love that. But I feel like that was kind of confusing for me sometimes.
I think the thing that was more confusing for me, and I don't disagree, but the kelp symbol, like when we first were learning, I thought
like the fire.
I thought kelp was fire at first. But it's not. That's fire. But the fire almost looks like a flower. I don't know. So like some of and then the bubbles.
The bubbles look like crystals.
Crystals, yeah. And which maybe wouldn't be a big deal, but you have crystals, purple crystals in this game too.
And so when you refer, like I would be like, oh, I gained a crystal. Then Kim would like reach over to go hand me a crystal, and I'm like, oh no, sorry, I meant a bubble.
Bubble, yeah.
Like, yes, I got that mixed up all the time. So this is kind of like a small little thing that they added that I really loved. I loved the diving aspect.
Oh yeah.
How like when you can activate like a dive ability, and I don't know, it just felt really cool. You know, you can like dive down, you can choose your heat level, like how much heat you want to lose and how far down. Because on that track, that's where you can gain the chests. That's where you can gain the key. Yeah. So if you have a chest, you really need to go to get a key. You know, you can just go diving into the ocean and find that key. So I liked that kind of little tiny aspect that they added.
That was the thing I liked thematically, was like the chest and key.
How if you get a chest and then you get a key,
then you get to open it up and it has goodies inside.
Yeah, it was
that was really
fun.
cute.
I did want to briefly kind of talk about the cave system, because I feel like the cave system, it was really cool. But I wish, when we talked about this while we were playing, I wish it would have been more of like a race to the end.
Yes.
And whoever makes it to the very end, there's like spots that, you know, you fill. So like the first person gets a full point, second person gets a half point, third person gets like a tool or something. So it's kind of, it feels, I want to feel more drive to go down there. And yes, when you go down there, you get stuff,
rewards.
You get rewards. But I wish there would have been even like more incentive to go down there for whatever reason. Like I wish it would have been a slightly bigger part of the game. Because it feels almost like an expansion that's tacked on. I feel like you could play this game without that.
I agree.
It might not be as cool, but I think the game would work perfectly fine without it. So it felt like an expansion, and I wish it would have felt more like an integral part of the game, because I think that is such a cool idea.
Yeah, I think I just thought of if you go watch our Wormspan review, and we talk about the guild, the Dragon Guild, and how that is like a little bit of it's not like a huge race system, but you have incentive to want to like bump your token before someone else, because then you get to claim like a cool reward that no one else can get. So I think something like that would have been really...
Some sort of race element would have made that more like, almost like fighting over positions down there.
And despite me wanting there to be something that grabs me a little bit more in the cave, I do really like the fighting system with the monsters. I think that feels...
I like how like you go first, so like you have to like first you like shoot them with arrows, and then if you get them and you kill them, then like the fight's over. But if you don't, then they like come up close to you, and then they do damage to you, and then you pull out your sword. So it's kind of like a staged battle system, and it feels like that's how it would work in real life.
I play Dungeons and Dragons, so it kind of has a little bit of that feel-ish to it too, and like that you get an action to fight the bad guy, and then they get... If you don't completely like wipe them out, then they get a response. If you have like a lantern, either a lantern potion or you roll lanterns on the dice, then you have the ability to loot the dungeon. And I like that aspect a lot too. It's just like, okay, now it's clear, the monster's gone, and now I can look around and see if there's any goodies in here. So like the fighting system I really liked. So I really like adventure-based games, story-based games, campaign games. I have a lot of fun with them. And one thing I really like about this game is that you get somewhat of a feel of that without actually diving into a campaign.
Yes.
Because you are able to level up your characters, you're able to like level up your dice, which is basically you just get more dice to fight the monsters. You can level up your tools.
Your little familiars.
You can level up your familiars. You can level up your character. And so like by the end of the game, you can have like, you can really choose which things you've like leveled up. So I like really enjoyed having those like pieces of those games without actually having to dive into something that's like really long story based or campaign based, but you get little like flares of that in this.
I really did enjoy so much about this game. It is a lot heavier than I think people are going to go into this and think. And I think some other channels are making it seem more heavy than it actually is, because I wouldn't like, this isn't a heavy game for me. It's not heavy.
It's not Eclipse.
Yeah, it's like it's not a heavy game, but it's more heavier than you would think. There's just a lot of planning ahead, lots of different ways to kind of get resources. Like there was even a point in the game where it was my turn, and I just sat there for a minute being like, okay, the point of the game, like how do I get the points that I need? Like I just had to sit and think for a minute, because it was like I could do this and this and this and this, which then would unlock this, or I could do this and this and this and this and this. So there's just a lot of decision making in this game. I think that's what it comes down to, is there's lots of decision making. It's not necessarily heavy, and I think like by the end of our first game, I was like, okay, I got it. But it took me a full game.
Yes.
Some games you play around and I'm like, okay, I got it. I know what I need to do. This took me a full game. So by the time I was done, I was like, okay, I've got it now. But yeah, it did take a full game for that to kind of like click with my head.
I agree. I was the same way.
All right, so those are our first thoughts and impressions after playing Floe for the very first time. Again, I just want to preface that this is a prototype copy of the game. We were working with prototype rules and everything, so everything is subject to change. But if you are interested in this game, make sure to hop over to the Kickstarter campaign that is currently live for this game to kind of look at all of what they anticipate kind of having in this campaign. What I'm really excited about is the organizer, because going through the prototype, it was like a mess, and I was like, it would be so nice if there was like an organization system for this game, which I believe they do have in at least the deluxe version of this Kickstarter game. So that was our first thoughts on Floe. Huge shout out to Pika Games for sending us this copy. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.